Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome.
Welcome to the Port Haven StreamCast.
How's it going?
Reports of our deaths have been much exaggerated.
Right?
How is everyone today on a Thursday?
We're back to like old school Thursdays.
Yeah, I already got some people hanging out in the chat too. Voltix and Leon. Always glad to see Steven around and Voltix.
Always.
How are you guys today? Yeah, any iteration of Steven is welcome. How is everyone today? Are you doing all right? Is life going well for you?
Just bringing up some stuff for us to talk about. I'm doing well. I went to the county fair today, which was pretty exciting. I ate deep fried Oreos.
Steven says he can't hear anything, so he needs hand signals. I don't know many hand signals.
I don't know that many hand signals.
We should
Can he not hear anything?
I'm guessing it's just because his audio's out.
Oh no, I can hear us.
Yeah.
I just checked.
Huh. We should get like signal flags.
Okay. Yeah.
So that we can do like nautical signals, because I'm sure that will. Hey, and Fat Batman hanging out too. All of our friends showing up. But we are here this week, if a little beleaguered. We are here, and we have already done a video on this on our channel, an announcement news video, and it's been covered on our blog site. About the episode 9 casting announcement that was made. Oh, and there's Sarge. Right on cue. But the casting announcement came out of the first big casting announcement. Came out for episode 9 just the other day. And we want to sort of break that down a little bit and talk about who is going to be in episode 9, who's not going to be in episode 9, who may yet be in episode 9. All of those sorts of things. Sarge wants to see your body. We'll just leave that.
Yeah, I mean, not here.
But why don't you just start off by reading us? You don't have to read the whole press announcement, but since you got it pulled up,
I mean,
why don't you just? Well, you could if that's what you want to do. But why don't you just?
No one wants to hear it.
Run us through the list.
Well, controversially, Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, John Boyega, and Oscar Isaac are all back.
I'm shocked.
I'm shocked. I personally thought all 4 of those characters were done at the end of The Last Jedi, just complete character arcs. So we're really surprised to see them back. We also have Lupita Nyong'o, who is Maz, Domhnall Gleeson, who is Hux, Kelly Marie Tran as Rose, which this one, I saw a lot of people who were relieved that Kelly was back. I always assumed Rose was going to be back.
I don't know why she wouldn't have been back.
I don't know why she wouldn't. I guess it occurred to me that there really is no guarantee. It's just like there's 5 rebels left, so they kind of need everyone.
I can see her not having as large of a part as she did in The Last Jedi, but I didn't assume. I mean, what were they assuming that all the social media stuff was keeping her away? Because I don't care how bad you are to me on Instagram. If they let me be in a Star Wars movie, I'm going to be in a Star Wars movie.
I understand some mean things were said to her, but none of them would be mean enough to stop the paycheck you're going to get by being in episode 9.
Right.
I always say this name wrong. Jonas Somato, the new Chewbacca, is back. And Billy Lord, whose character I'm sure is continuing to get expanded. If you don't know, Billy Lord is the daughter of Carrie Fisher.
Right.
New people are Naomi Ackie, who I am not particularly familiar with. Richard E. Grant, who I'm not particularly familiar with.
I know a guy named Richard Grant. Is it him?
Yeah, right. And is he related to Alan Grant? That's all I want to know. And then Keri Russell, who I am more familiar with.
And who J.J. Abrams is more familiar with.
Yes.
So I know you're a big J.J. Abrams fan, but have you ever watched any of what is it, Felicity?
Felicity. I haven't seen Felicity. Felicity is in a sci-fi show, I think. Which is probably why I never got around to that one.
Yeah.
Because I've seen most of, but not all of Lost. I'm obsessed with Fringe, and it was Alias was his, wasn't it? Because I liked Alias.
Yep.
I liked Alias quite a bit. Like Super 8, he did Mission Impossible 3, which I love. He's like the lead producer on the Mission Impossible movie. Anyway, anyway, I can go on about that for a while. But then, right off the bat, they told us Mark Hamill is back.
Yep. And honestly, this was, out of all the announcements, this is one that really stood out to me because there had been, because of course this is just how the internet works these days, there had been so many rumors that he hated The Last Jedi so much that he just wasn't going to be around. And he even mentioned, I saw this on his Instagram, he probably posted it on Twitter too, but that he had been like purposefully being coy about it because he didn't just want people to assume that Luke would be back. Like he wanted a reaction when they announced that Luke would be back. So I was pleased with that. And there are still some people in the Luke's not really dead camp that I see on Twitter occasionally also.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that they kind of came right out and said this too, because I had every belief that that the ghost of Luke was going to be back.
Right.
But for them to just kind of like come out and say it makes me wonder, is it just to squash rumors that Mark Hamill didn't want to come back? Is it reactionary to the Last Jedi controversy? Is it because the Force Ghost of Luke Skywalker is going to have such a large role that there was no sense in hiding it? Right? I guess I shouldn't say huge, I have no idea, but there is a movement on social media to try to get Hayden Christensen to come in as Anakin,
right?
And kind of set Kylo straight on who his grandfather was,
right?
And so I kind of wonder too, is making I think I'm lagging a little bit. That's all right.
We skipped there for a second.
So I was saying, I kind of wonder, is it that because people want to see the ghost of Anakin Skywalker, is knowing that Mark Hamill's going to be in it kind of a bait and switch where we think that, well, because Luke's going to be the Force ghost, and then when Anakin shows up, surprise. In the same way that Yoda was a big surprise. And to note, Frank Oz is not on this list, so maybe Yoda isn't coming back, is going to come back again. I just kind of wonder.
Well, I feel like with Yoda and Frank Oz in particular, I feel like that was a moment for Luke, and not necessarily a moment for Rey. Like if Yoda were to show up to try to talk to Rey, like Rey has no idea who Yoda is, at least as far as I know. But I would be down for Hayden coming back, and it would be a surprise, kind of like that first time I watched the DVD remasters, and then there was Hayden all of a sudden. But
and you're there now.
But no, I don't know that I would have a problem with that. I don't know that I expect that. But that would not be a bad. I mean, because honestly, I feel like Luke can have the same sort of moment. Because honestly, and this is, I guess, getting away from the casting talk a little bit, but how much do you think Luke has told Kylo about Anakin? Because I still maintain that I think Snoke appeared as Vader to Kylo, and I wonder how much like he actually knows. Like we know from Bloodline that the whole galaxy found out that Vader was Leia's dad. But like, I don't know. They say they can't see me. I don't know why that would be. It's because
I think you're on the scene of just me.
I didn't switch slides back. There we go.
This is
I'm
high
sorry.
Quality.
I worked all day today and I'm tired. Anyway, I will see because I had the slides pulled up side by side, and I'm like, I see myself just fine. Why don't we do that on both sides, just in case?
There we go.
But so, like, I wonder, like, if they ever had a sit down, and Luke said, yes, he was Vader, but I redeemed him, or he redeemed himself. Like, I wonder how much of that story he actually knows.
I think that's a great question, because to me, logically, it would make a lot of sense for Luke to tell the story sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But in my headcanon, that has no real basis for anything, is, I try to think of reasons why Kylo fell to the dark side. How did he become Kylo instead of Ben? And obviously Snoke was a big player there, but Palpatine was a big player for Anakin, but Palpatine didn't talk Anakin into the dark side. Palpatine made Anakin afraid of losing Padme, so he fell to the dark side. I have kind of always wondered if Kylo found out... Well, actually, in Bloodline, Leia is trying to get a message to Ben, who's out with Luke.
Right, before everybody else finds out.
Before everyone finds out. So, did she not realize that Luke had already told her or not? But I always kind of figured that Kylo, part of his fall was feeling betrayed by his family. That there's this major part of his family that he never knew. And that's how his obsession with Vader came around, is that, he went from, my family is boring and filled with Alliance goody two-shoes, to, oh my gosh, my grandfather was Darth Vader. And kind of figuring that out at a very impressionable time would have led to his obsession with that.
Well, and I forget when in the timeline Bloodline happens, like how early before.
6 years before The Force Awakens.
Because I can see, so like I don't know like when like the flashback visions from The Last Jedi happen in relation to Bloodline, but so if Kylo feels like he's getting, and again, this is just my own headcanon, so take that for whatever it's worth. But if Kylo's getting visions of what he assumes is Darth Vader before Luke tells him that, it could be possible that what we see in that flashback has already happened by the time Bloodline has happened.
It's possible.
So anyway, Fat Batman, to answer your questions, the galaxy does know about Leia's adopted parents, and I feel like Padme was left out of that announcement in Bloodline. I feel like people know that she and Luke are brother and sister, and they found out about Anakin, but I don't remember any mention of Padme in what Bail in the little memory thing, the hologram that Bail Organa left for Leia.
When in Princess of Alderaan, Leia goes to Naboo. Do you remember why she goes to Naboo?
It was like a diplomatic training thing, I think.
Okay.
For like her trials or whatever.
Okay, because Panaka recognizes her, but he doesn't say anything. So I think at that point she couldn't have known. Yeah, I don't think she necessarily knows that Padme is her mother. I feel like I feel like it could not have been that hard to figure out.
Right.
Like, once you know your father is Anakin Skywalker, and Anakin Skywalker had kids, it's kind of a short list of people he could have conceivably had kids with. It wasn't ObiWan, so, Well,
and I can see Obi-Wan, even though we don't get that on screen, I can see Obi-Wan having told Luke that at some point. Because I would imagine Luke would have questions about it. But
what you were saying, too, about Snoke pretending to be Vader, I think that's a very good theory.
Yeah.
At the very least, I think... Hello, how would you say it? Zrazka?
Yep.
Is how I'm going to go. Hello, X. Thank you for subbing earlier. I think it's a very interesting point because when we see Kylo in The Force Awakens, he's basically praying to Vader's helmet.
Right.
And that's kind of a strange thing when you think about it, we've seen Force users, we've seen Jedi, and we've seen Sith meditate into the Force and call on the Force and do the equivalent of praying to a Force, but we've never seen them call on a person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that if Kylo was hearing a voice somewhere along the way, that would help with determining that.
Right. Speaking of Snoke, that's one thing that's noticeably absent. There are other noticeable absences. And I guess this one is less surprising, but Andy Serkis is not on the cast announcement at all. So I don't know that I expected Snoke to be back, but I guess it was possible. I guess it was not something that had really crossed my mind, because of how suddenly he died and the way he died and everything.
Right. If he was going to come back at all, I know there have been a couple of people who've been wondering if we would get flashbacks, and if we're going back to young Ben, Snoke would be there. But
Right.
I think that's the type of thing where it could be a surprise too. I think the important thing to remember here is this is the first casting announcement of
Sure.
the main cast.
Right.
Hey, Bear. But that doesn't mean it's going to be the final casting announcement.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So some of these things could kind of come in later. But yeah, I wasn't necessarily expecting Snoke. I'm expecting more on Snoke. I'm just not expecting more on Snoke in 9.
Right. Well, and I can see if that is there, that would definitely be something they wanted to keep close to the chest, and not necessarily, tease in a casting announcement. But before we get into other noticeable absences, I wanted to ask you this too. So, I'm assuming that Maz is going to be back this time. Do you think we will get a larger role for Maz than we did in The Last Jedi, or is this going to be another
kind of one-shot kind of thing?
Because I would think as few rebels as there are, I can see them leaning on Maz and her contacts. But what do you think about that?
I think you're right in that. I think they'd want to use Maz in that way. I'm really hoping that we get that. My theory, and I kind of went into this in the casting video, ties into another notable thing about the cast, which is they're using unused footage from The Force Awakens for Carrie Fisher to give Leia a role in Episode 9.
Right.
Which kind of makes me wonder what that role's going to be. But my theory right now is there is at least a scene, if not a few scenes, that got cut out of The Force Awakens, where Maz goes to the Resistance base. I think the idea is that when they all go back to the Resistance base, Maz goes with them. And Maz has Luke/Anakin's lightsaber, and she hands it to Leia. And we actually see this scene in one of the Force Awakens trailers. It's the trailer where you have Luke's voiceover. It's like, the Force is strong with my family. I have it. My sister have it. You have this power too. This Christmas, and it swells and everyone cries. But the shot when he says my sister has it, it's Maz handing the lightsaber to Leia.
Right.
And I think that could be something really beautiful if they could bring that scene back. The problem is that lightsaber has been destroyed. So,
well, you could CGI a broken lightsaber into that scene and do something with it.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Garrison, and hello, Hannah. Welcome. Nice to see you here.
Yeah, lots of people hanging out in the chat. But I really liked Maz's character. When we saw her in The Force Awakens, I like her. I don't know if you've watched all the Forces of Destiny stuff, but she's popped up a few times
up here and
in there. And I love that too, because so Maz is where Leia got the disguise from to go into Jabba's palace. But I would love to get more of Maz. I think she's one of my favorite sequel trilogy she's the Dex of the sequel trilogy for me.
I want to see more of Maz, but not to say that I don't want to see her in the sequel trilogy, because I do, but I really want to see more of Maz in different time periods.
Right.
Because she's, Bosk, welcome, good to see you here. This is a party today, guys.
Oh, it is.
This is great.
Impromptu party at that. But I can even see, so we're getting a lot of like prequel era novels coming out.
Yeah.
You know, you could very easily work her in there somewhere because,
or even like a comic series.
Yeah, but like she's as old as she is, there's no reason not to have her in certain places. But I saw a while back, I can't see who said it now, but somebody a while back mentioned the possibility of Phasma coming back.
I think it was Fat Batman.
Which Gwendolyn Christie is not on this casting list. So she's another one of the sort of big noticeable absences from the list. Do you think that means we won't see Phasma, or like we expect, are we going to get surprise Phasma's not dead moment and they're just playing it low key?
So I wanted Phasma to be in The Last Jedi the way she was, but I wanted to not know she was going to be there. Like, yeah. I think sometimes about how awesome that would have been. Like, to imagine Finn and Rose and DJ, like, breaking into the Supremacy, and then out of nowhere, Phasma's just back, LOL. Like, that would have freaked me out. It's kind of like it was worth the price, because we got the Phasma novel and the Phasma comic, and Gwendolyn Christie's just a joy on press junkets. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't trade it for what we got. But I would love to have that moment in this one. Hello, Belfast. Good to see you here.
And Fat Batman says he would love to see Maz and Lando having a drink in Han's memory. I would love that too.
I would love that too. I would love that to be the scene.
And
with
that's
Lando, because Billy D is back.
Right. Which, tell me what you think about that, because before this was announced, you know, this was kind of a really badly kept secret, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Billy D. Williams, I think himself might have said something about it. So maybe he didn't know it was supposed to be a secret. But, like, what are your thoughts about bringing Lando back? Obviously, Lando was kind of, for me at least, one of the really sort of stars of the Han movie. Like, really sort of stole the show in a lot of points. So I'm not surprised about it, but what do you think about seeing Lando some more?
So I will start with, absolutely, I'm going to sit there watching episode 9 and Billy D. Williams is going to come on the screen and I'm going to freak out. So I'm not sitting here like I'm too cool to like Lando in a movie, because at the end of the day, I'm a fan and I'm excited to see him back. Mm. I did not have a strong need for Lando to be back. I didn't see a whole lot of reason for him to come back, except for, OMG, it's cool because he was in the other movies too.
Right.
I just want more of a reason than that for Lando to be back. And if they can come up with a good plot point for him, great. I'm not seeing it. But I also didn't see how they could make Rey nobody and have it work. Right. And I was wrong. So I'm more than happy to be proven wrong again. I'm a little bit concerned about his acting chops, but albeit I haven't seen him act in anything recently, so maybe they're still there?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was worried, because, like, this feels like sacrilege to say this, but one of the weaker acting jobs in The Force Awakens, I think, is actually Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Which is sad to say. That said, I thought she did phenomenal in The Last Jedi, whatever she was doing there. So it's just kind of like, I don't necessarily want to bring nostalgia actors back for nostalgia's sake. Right. But if he can carry whatever kind of job, whatever kind of role they give him, I will say I like that he's announced in the cast, because that makes me think he has a role and not I'm in the hallway and I'm going to turn around and go, hey, and wave, and then that's my scene, which I want him to have better than a cameo.
Don't want him to get the Admiral Akbar treatment.
Yes.
But
basically.
I mean, basically what I want from Lando now is I want Lando like on the Falcon talking to L3 in the computer. Yep. Or like seeing Lando with his with his woman from last shot. Like that would be a cool like inclusion of a book detail. But before we knew that Kerri was still going to be in this film, I assumed that they were bringing back Billy Dee just to have some original trilogy character there to kind of fill that void. But now that he is confirmed to be more than that, I hope they give him something to do.
Right.
You know, and it could be in a scene with Maz, or really anything. But and Fat Batman, yeah, I would love to have a cyborg Phasma. I think I told Jess this the other day, but my like idea about Phasma is to have Phasma like all burn up and scarred except for like that one part on her face that we saw, or maybe like I don't know, but like posing as a resistance person because nobody would really know what she looked like until maybe she like Finn saw those piercing blue eyes or something like that. I don't know. That would be cool to me. But I 100%. I don't know that I'd be disappointed if Phasma's not in this movie, but I'm gonna expect her to be there until credits roll. Honestly.
And hello, XZP. Welcome. Nice to see you there. Sorry, I'm really bad at guessing how to say things. I will say this. If Phasma is not in episode 9, I will still not be convinced she's dead.
Right.
I mean, she is the sequel trilogy's Boba Fett, and Boba Fett never died. So I just feel like even if she's not in 9, they'll find a way to bring her back in something. And I would just like to remind everyone that her armor is made from the hull of a spaceship.
This is true.
So I think her survival chances of falling off of a thing are pretty high.
Another noticeable absence from that casting list is Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, as DJ.
And I did expect to see DJ back. Do you think, and again, this is just the first casting announcement, and so this doesn't necessarily mean anything hard and fast, but were you surprised that he wasn't included on the casting list?
I don't know that I'm surprised. I think a lot of people assumed he was going to be Lando, and that he was going to come back and he was going to have a chance to be a good guy and prove himself.
Right.
I don't know that I'm shocked, because the thing is, if there's going to be any redemption story in 9, it's not going to be DJ, it's going to be Kylo.
Right, that's fair.
Like, I think at that point, if we're redeeming DJ and Kylo, it's going to be really long. Because, like, the thing is with Lando is he was redeemed in Empire.
Right,
like,
sure.
And, and he wasn't even really a bad guy. When Darth Vader shows up at your door and says, you need to give me this person or else, you do it. It doesn't make you a villain.
Right.
In the same way, DJ kind of, like, he sold out Finn and Rose, but he also sold out the whole Resistance to survive. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, and Bosk's got a good point. The galaxy is a big enough place, so it makes sense. I felt like the end of The Last Jedi was setting us up to see DJ again. But again, I don't necessarily need that to happen in a film in order for that to be satisfying for me personally.
I completely agree.
What do you think about the comment we got in the chat about the possibility of getting another like big Force Ghost scene like at the end of episode 9? Like
with all of
Luke,
them?
Yoda, Obi-Wan, Anakin, maybe some Leia in the mix, or Qui-Gon just for fun.
She could. Just to show, and everyone's like, who are you? For no particular reason. I don't know. Just really mess with everyone. Shmi has a Force Ghost. What?
Joe Costanu in the background.
She just shows up. None of you exist in our record, so none of you exist. And then everyone just stays away.
Yep.
How is that not? That has to be a meme. There has to be a meme of Jocasta looking at legends and pointing and saying, "None of you appear in our archives."
That's great.
No one probably wanted to make it. It probably hurt too much. I would be all for it saying Force Ghost again.
Yeah.
I I mean, the thing is with a scene like that is you're never going to make everyone happy. Because if you do it, you're going to make a whole bunch of people happy because we're going to see all the Force ghosts and it's going to be great. And then you're going to be a whole bunch of people who are like, it's Return of the Jedi again.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, you're going to just have people going, well, why didn't we ever see these Force ghosts again? And it's just, there's no way to make everyone happy. Force Ghost Army, like in Return of the King.
Yes, that's exactly what we want. They just all run out of the Falcon and overwhelm the First Order, and that's how it ends. Roll credits.
I'm also in favor of Fat Batman's suggestion as well.
Oh yeah, like the Hishi, where
all the kids showed up.
You murdered us as children. Oh, yeah,
Hizzy is so good.
That's the best. I'm gonna have to go watch that.
You
now.
mean I'm gonna be a father? Sorry.
And then
Padme comes as a Force Ghost. Poor Sarge.
Snoke gets a Force Ghost, but it's just half of him. It's just a pair of legs walking across, and his torso like crawling along by his arms.
So good.
This is too much fun.
We'll just have to have a Force Ghost episode at some point, and it'll be good.
So, what do you think? We were talking about this earlier, but it's worth pointing out that Keri Russell did get confirmed after this announcement. She apparently was just still hadn't finalized the paperwork yet by the time they wanted to hit send on the announcement.
I just think that's really funny because then she was confirmed because she was confirmed in the Star Wars show video.
Yeah. So
I almost wonder though if they like filmed her being confirmed, and then they could have edited that out of the Star Wars show if it wasn't going to be. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, but so like you know a little bit more about the film process than I do. Are they still casting at this point? Because I know filming has begun. So like we may not know who all has been cast, but are they like at what point in the process are you no longer adding more characters because you have started filming?
I would say anybody who's a major role is probably worked out by now. Because that would be anybody who's going to be in multiple scenes. Like if there's a scene that they're not filming until the last week of production, they might still be in some talks. But that's going to be like a character who's in a one-off. But I mean, the script's finalized at this point. I would say if anything changes, it's going to be like scene rewrites where you're going to take somebody. So like the difference between an extra and a featured extra is, does the extra get a line? So if you have a scene where it's just people, that's one thing. But if one of the extra goes, look over there, that bumps them up to featured extra. And and if somebody was like a featured extra, but then goes on to have like a name that's better than like person number 3, then that's another. So there might be rules like that aren't finalized yet. But I would guess if they have a finalized script, they're good to go. It would depend on, JJ just kind of wrote this in December.
Right.
So it would depend on how good the script is to go.
Sure.
Bosk, we haven't talked a whole lot about Grant because neither Django nor I are particularly familiar with him. But if you have thoughts on him, please share them with us because I would love to know more about his background and that sort of thing.
I can pull up the IMDb's. And while we're talking about filming started, J.J. Abrams reemerged on Twitter and posted a picture from the first day of filming.
Yeah, and apparently people have been able to divine knowledge from it.
Yeah, well, we did see a couple of things that I think. So let me throw this up and give.
Oh, he's a possible Thrawn candidate. That's interesting.
Oh, that would be cool.
He has the look.
So this is the picture from the first day of filming.
Perfect.
No. Actually, this is the picture from the
Oh
first
my
day of
gosh,
filming.
shirtless Kylo Ren is Star Wars number 69.
No, that was.
Okay.
That was just the addition of whoever created that image.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Oh, man.
But so this is the actual image that we got
Okay.
from J.J. Abrams. And you can see, I mean, I'm assuming, obviously you can see Chewie and Finn in that picture. And I'm assuming that's Rey there also. You know, we can't really see her face, but that fits Daisy Ridley's
body type.
Right. Is there anything else, like, I mean, we don't even really know that this is a shot. This could just be these people hanging out
right
in the cockpit after shooting is over, but does that tell you anything?
I mean, just that they're on the Falcon, no. Yeah. Other than, like, they're not hiding that the Falcon is in the movie this time. There's another thing I've been seeing a lot of people talk about is you can see 8 and 9 on the camera. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have been like, oh, is this, you know, JJ's thanking Ryan and all of this stuff. And I don't actually know. I just know that it's like episode 8 and episode 9. I don't know that it means anything.
Right.
It could be just that they used that camera for 8 and then they added a 9 because they're using it for 9.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that it means a specific thing. I'm seeing some talk about Keri Russell, and I super still want to talk about her, but while we're talking about the picture, I just don't want anybody to think we're ignoring them. But
go ahead with the Keri Russell stuff. I honestly, okay. I'm not super duper familiar with her, so I don't have. I mean, I know her record and stuff, but I don't have a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, I know of her more than anything. It's just people are talking about who she could play. Of course, she's like Rey's 9 millionth mother.
Right.
So there's that option. We have somebody saying Keri Russell could be playing a female Knights of Ren, which is very interesting because in my head, and it's interesting because I like it because it changes my perspective on the thing, because my assumption was that all of Luke's students were around Kylo's age.
Yeah.
And that he would have gone out and found new young people to train. But that doesn't necessarily track, because if you read the Jedi Academy trilogy, which I've been meaning to reread in light of the sequel trilogy, Luke finds students that are all over the place, and some of them are older than Luke, some of them are younger.
Right.
So she could have been one of Luke's students, because I believe the Knights of Ren all came from, at least the ones that follow Kylo are all Luke's former students, but maybe I'm making assumptions I shouldn't. So I think that's a possibility. The big rumor with her that was going on for a while is she was rumored to be playing a character named Mara.
Yeah.
And whether or not that meant anything. And I have 2 thoughts on that. One, characters are often given dummy names before the character's name is announced. So Mara could literally just be a placeholder name that ends up having nothing to do with who she's playing. But my other thought on that, and I tweeted about this from the Port Haven account the other day. Spoiler for the season end of Rebels. If you were working your way through Rebels and you haven't watched the series finale, we get a character named Jason, spelled Jacen.
Mm-hmm.
Conveniently, his last initial is also an S. In Star Wars Legends, there was Jacen Solo, who was Han and Leia's son, who fell to the dark side. And had a twin sister named Jaina. And Filoni came right out and said that they named Jacen Syndulla Jason because it was to reference Jacen Solo. Not necessarily in Syndulla's fate, but just to have a name from Legends in there.
Sure. And
I think it's possible that if Kerri Russell's, maybe they just wanted another Kerri, I don't know. If Keri Russell's character is named Mara, it doesn't mean it's Mara Jade. It could just mean that she's you know, is an homage to Mara.
I mean, personally, I've got my fingers crossed that her character's name is Callista. But that's just me.
That might be the one thing that could get me to walk out of the theater in episode 9.
Speaking of Force Ghosts.
Luke, ooh. Raylo won't be the actual first sex scene in Star Wars.
Are there any other things that kind of stand out at you or to you about the casting announcement?
I don't think there's anything else particularly surprising that we haven't gotten to in terms of who's been cast. Other than I am kind of wondering who Aki, Grant, and Russell could be. I mean, what kind of characters do we not have? Because originally I was thinking, well, now we don't have a leader of the Resistance because we don't have Leia or Holdo,
right?
Or Akbar. But we're gonna have Leia back. So does Leia die partway through the movie, and one of these characters takes over? I'm hoping. I guess there's less of a need for this character I'm about to suggest because Hux is still in it. But what I'm hoping happens is that the First Order falls because Kylo tears it apart from the inside.
Sure.
Because I don't think Kylo has any love for the First Order. I don't think he has any love for the Resistance, but I don't think he has any love for the First Order.
Yeah, I don't think he cares either.
So I would love to see a new antagonist inside the First Order. I would absolutely love to see the Knights of Ren. It'd be cool if some of these guys were Knights of Ren. What would be cool is, Snoke refers to Kylo as Master of the Knights of Ren, but he might not be the only master. In the same way there's multiple Jedi masters, there could be many masters of the Knights of Ren.
Sure.
If it's a rank and not a position. So these guys could be rival masters of the Knights of Ren who are also making a play for being Supreme Leader. Yeah.
I mean, we could also see other First Order leaders, too. Like, they could be, anybody in the ranks of the Resistance or the First Order, too.
Right.
But I do hesitate, and I don't know that the people hanging out in the chat are doing this or would do this. But speaking of the Mara point, I would hesitate to, or tell people to hesitate when they want to, like, assume who characters might be. Like speculation is fine, but
yeah,
like it would be very easy, I think, for us to get our hopes up again the way a lot of people did when they thought they knew everything about
where the Last Jedi was going. Yeah.
So prepare yourself in advance to be surprised, at least until we know more. Maybe next September I may re-download Star Wars Card Trader so I can get some images of stuff.
Right.
But
you officially deleted it now?
Oh,
I
yeah.
Still have it.
Yeah, no, a long time ago. That was like 6 months ago.
I opened it again yesterday and I was like, you can't even, all of these packs are gem packs. Like, what is the point of this app?
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, while we're talking about this, so they're gonna, for Carrie Fisher, the big thing is that they came right out and announced they're gonna use this unused stuff. Because they long ago said that they weren't gonna do a digital Fisher the way she was done in Rogue One.
Right.
It was completely different when they did it in Rogue One because Carrie Fisher was still alive when they were making Rogue One. And they said they weren't gonna recast her. So they're going to use this footage, but I was thinking about this the other day. She's going to look like she did in The Force Awakens.
Right.
And we've never seen a Lady Skywalker keep the same outfit for 2 movies. So are we just going to do that? Is she just going to kind of go back to her general uniform and we're going to pretend it's a uniform? I mean, it is a uniform, but pretend that matters? Or are we going to... how would people feel if they CGI'd her hair and her costume, but left her performance alone?
I kind of wondered that too. Give her kind of I'm trying to pull it off the shelf here and I can't get it. But give her what I would then call the Green Lantern treatment, where they just kind of CG over her performance. Here we go. Underrated movie here. But or like in Justice League where they CGI'd out Henry Cavill's mustache. But no, I could see that happening. I don't know. I mean, I guess it would depend on how well done it was.
Yeah,
honestly.
that's exactly what I was going to say.
But if anybody could do it, it would be ILM, who would be able. I mean, they did incredible CG reproduction of Leia and Tarkin for Rogue One. I was super impressed by that. So like I don't see a reason why they couldn't do it. I don't necessarily know that they have to in order. Like I wouldn't be disappointed if they didn't, but I'd kind of thought along those lines too, of maybe even just like altering like what she's wearing or her hairstyle or whatever. Yeah, there you go. Ryan Reynolds' head over Leia's body with the mask.
Just put Deadpool in episode 9, because that's clearly what you need to be a successful movie.
Yeah.
After Solo flopped, I could do a whole streamcast just ranting about how every movie now has opened with less than $86 million in 3 days and has been a financial success, but Solo is still a flop. I was livid after Mission Impossible Fallout came out. I understand Mission Impossible is not quite the same as Star Wars, but it's still a major movie franchise that's been around for a long time. And it premiered at like less than 70 million in its 3-day opening weekend. It made more than any other Mission Impossible movie ever had in its opening weekend. And it was a financial success. And in 3 days, Solo made more money than it. But Solo is still a flop. It's like, not at all bitter about it. Anyway, there's another comment we got in the chat. Saying Poe will be leading the rebels in episode 9, and that kind of leads me to my other Leia question, because obviously, as long as Leia's alive, she'll be leading the rebels. So, do we think Leia will die in episode 9? Do we think, or will she just kind of go to the office and not be seen for the rest of the movie, and then you can keep Leia alive in the expanded universe? Like, what would people rather see? Do you want to see a way for Leia's death to be worked in on screen, or would you rather just kind of have this? I kind of think back to one of the Pierce Brosnan James Bonds. I can't remember which one it was the last one with the original Q in it, and then that actor died. Desmond starts with an L, and I can't remember his last name, but he had passed away. And there's this shot, the last time you see that Q in a James Bond movie, he does one of his quips, and he just like descends into the ground and goes into like this like strange Q hovel. And that scene always had meaning for me, because in my head, then that character could still be alive, even though I knew the actor was dead. Right. So do you want a moment like that with Leia, where we can say goodbye to her on screen, but know the character is still there? Or would we rather see Leia's death? Thank you, Fat Batman. That is his name. And see that and like get a chance to mourn her on screen.
I don't know that I would be disappointed either way. New canon has definitely done the best treatment of Leia, that I've really seen all along. So I would trust, Claudia Gray, or some of these other authors to do some really good Leia stuff in new canon with novels and stuff. So I wouldn't have a problem with that. But if those are the two options, I 100% expect Leia to die on screen somehow to get that moment. Especially, we don't know what the time jump is between The Last Jedi and Episode 9. I'm assuming that it's going to be significant. That's just my own personal assumption. But if it's not, and Leia dies early in the film, we could even get kind of a Leia and Han funeral together kind of moment.
Right.
Because, The Last Jedi happened so close in time to The Force Awakens that it would still be possible for that. And I know they did that in the novelization, but you know how we feel about novelizations.
Novelizations, yeah. Well, Poe and Rey also met in the Force Awakens novelization, so.
But so I don't know. It's a really interesting question, and I've not thought about it that way before. I think I would be fine with either one. I don't think the internet would be fine with either one, and I don't know that J.J. Abrams would be fine with either one. Honestly, I think whatever the send off for Leia is, I think he has something very particular and very special planned.
Yeah.
And I kind of trust him with that.
I completely trust him. I would say I would be fine with the kind of just let the character fade away but not die on screen. I would be okay with it. It wouldn't bother me. Yeah. I think that whether we want to admit it or not, or whether we would say it or not, I think we as fans have been subconsciously waiting to have this cathartic experience of like watching Leia die.
Right.
And I kind of feel like we would be robbed of this almost closure moment that we need because of Carrie Fisher's passing in a way that we didn't really need with Han or Luke because Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill are still kicking.
Right. I mean, and especially with the like fake out moment in The Last Jedi, I feel like I loved that so much. Like I was crying in the theater. But like I feel like we need a real moment, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I have a strong preference.
If it's one of those things where I don't know how they could possibly do this because these scenes could not possibly exist from The Force Awakens. So this scene will not happen. But I feel like there was a chance for a really beautiful kind of follow-up to that fake-out moment where Kylo faces Leia again and the First Order kills her, but Kylo doesn't.
Right.
And that's kind of his, like, all right, like, I need to do something about this. I guess for me, and this might get me in trouble with some of our subs, but I was always more okay with the idea of Kylo getting redeemed as an act of him losing his mother than him necessarily falling for Rey.
Right.
And I'm not against him falling for Rey, and I'm not against that being a factor, but I just thought, you know, the Luke, the child, saves Anakin, the parent. And I thought there would be something really nice about the parent saving the child this time around.
Right.
But, you know.
I mean, especially because at the end of The Last Jedi, like, Luke has written off Kylo. For whatever that means.
Or at least I think he's written him off for what he's able to do.
Right. That's fair. That's fair.
I think Luke knows that he's not going to be the one to bring Kylo back. That he's done too much.
That's fair enough.
In the same way ObiWan couldn't bring Anakin back. Right. It's just not the role they have with each other.
We did get another comment in chat here that is worth mentioning. So this press release also pointed out that this will be the last film in the Skywalker saga. What do you interpret that as meaning? Is this like, so Kylo is a Skywalker? Like, is this going to be the last time we see Kylo Ren on screen, or is it possible to continue a sequel trilogy era story with these characters and it not be a Skywalker film? Like, what does that mean to you?
I feel like they've said this before this press release, that this is going to be the last one. And I feel like, to me, superficially, it just means they're not planning more episodes after this.
Yeah.
They're not planning episodes 10, 11, and 12. And they're going to focus on television, and they're going to focus on spin-off, different kinds of films. Now, of course, that all may change if you believe what people say and that Disney is reevaluating what they're going to do after Solo. But I don't think there's plans for another Skywalker film for a while. Or at least another episode film. Now, I think you could do a Star Wars Episode 10 that isn't about Skywalkers. I will say that does make me concerned for the fate of Kylo. But I also think it's possible to have a movie down the road where Kylo is the mentor figure, but because it's not his story, it's not a Skywalker saga.
That's fair enough. I can kind of see that too. And I guess that's kind of not necessarily that particular scenario, but I don't think this will be the last time we see Kylo. Like, I don't feel like Kylo Ren or Ben Solo's story is over with Episode 9. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't feel like that is necessarily means that he's gonna die or meet some kind of fate in this film.
Yeah.
At least I mean, I honestly, there's still such a big gap that we have not explored between 6 and 7. That I want more Kylo Ren, and if you had asked me after The Force Awakens, I kind of didn't care, but after The Last Jedi, I want more Kylo Ren.
I felt very conflicted the first time I saw The Last Jedi. I love it now, but the first time I saw it, I felt very conflicted. But the one thing I knew for sure is I felt validated as a Kylo fan after The Last Jedi. Yeah. After 2 years of trying to tell people that he was a cool character and there was more to him.
But if Knox was here, he would tell us differently. But,
yes, he would.
but no, that's worth pointing out too. And it's also interesting too. This is just a rumor, so I'll throw this in here for whatever it's worth too. I've seen a lot of the internet saying that they've brought on George Lucas as some kind of consultant for this last film in the Skywalker saga too. So I don't know what that could mean about or for anything.
Is like executive producer, could mean anything.
I mean, and we don't even know that it's true. But,
right.
But that would be an interesting.
I heard they're using Nokia phones. Have you heard that rumor?
I have not. Why is that a thing?
To turn it, they've turned in their smartphones so that they have Nokia phones, so they can call and text each other, but you can't get on the internet from your work phone. And they've banned like smartphones from the set.
I want that to be true now.
I want it to be. I don't know if it is true, but I really want it to be true.
Just keep them sequestered for a year.
Yeah, they're not allowed. They can't even talk to their families. Like, no one. Only each other.
It's like, did you see this came out, this has nothing to do with Star Wars, but this came out after Infinity War came out, where there's a clip of what's his name? My mind is blanking. I'm tired. The Hulk.
Oh, Bruce Banner?
No,
or Mark Ruffalo?
Mark Ruffalo was doing a presser for Thor Ragnarok. And the guy asking the questions are like, man, a lot of people die in this movie. And he's like, and Mark Ruffalo basically says, well, half of everyone dies in Infinity War. And I think it's, it may have even been Benedict Cumberbatch. I don't remember who's sitting there next to him. Like, looks at him and he's like, you are in trouble because you have given away something that definitely shouldn't, because he says like, well, have a lot of people die in Infinity War too, and like he had to like back himself out of that hole.
That's funny. So, well, it's like when there was a talk show host in Australia who spoiled that Hela is the sister of Thor before the movie came out, because that was the thing you weren't supposed to know until you saw the movie. I want to say real quick, Nolan said he could see Kylo in a Yoda role going down the road. I really, 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 really like that idea, because what I really, really want to have happen to Kylo is that he goes on like a Revan walkabout after 9.
Right.
Like, not a traditional redemption story, not a he dies. I want him to go and find himself in the countryside of the galaxy.
Or even like an exile kind of thing, which I mean, I guess which Luke did to a certain extent, but just say I'm kind of done with all this for now.
Yep.
But any other thoughts? We're right at time here.
No, I think I said everything I was more concerned about saying. So we'll know more. We'll know more as things go on. I always will bring you news. We won't bring you leaks. We're not leaks and spoilers around here. We don't want to know the leaks ourselves, so we can't bring you the leaks because we won't know them. Unless they become officially acknowledged leaks, like when the Millennium Falcon was announced in The Force Awakens, and then J.J. Abrams tweeted a picture from the Falcon saying, "How do you know that the Falcon is in this movie?"
The only thing I remember about all of that is there was some video where I guess he was going back and forth with like Zack Snyder, and so it like panned underneath, and the Batmobile was on the underside of the Falcon, or something like that. That has stuck out in my mind.
That's funny. Nolan, I had a question earlier about whether or not Tran plans to come. I have no idea if she plans to come back or not.
I mean, she's in the casting list, so.
Yeah. Oh no, he means social media. I mean, if I were her, I wouldn't come back until after I was done filming, because then I couldn't accidentally spoil something.
Right.
At this point, I would just stay off.
Yeah.
But I have no idea if that's on her. I mean, she's got a long life ahead of her, whether or not she does.
Yeah. But yeah, as new stuff gets confirmed or comes out, we'll definitely comment on it. We've still got a long, just under a year and a half now, wait until this film comes out, and there's a lot of other stuff that will happen between now and then with Rebels and or not Rebels, but Resistance, and now Clone Wars coming back, and those book announcements that we talked about on the last Streamcast. So we're still going to have stuff to talk about, but we'll have to sort of take the Episode 9 stuff as it comes.
Yep.
So if you have other thoughts or questions or ideas, things you'd like us to spend a whole Streamcast on, we're still sort of staring into a long period of time here where we need things to talk about every week. So if you have something you want us to talk about, we'll be happy to do that. And you can follow us on all of the social media things. You know what they are at this point. Although Sarge just found our Facebook the other day. Only been saying that for, 50-some episodes now, however long, 30 episodes, however long we've been doing this.
21.
So 21, whatever. We can drink now. We hit episode 21.
We'll become the new Kathy Lee and Hoda. We'll just drink every show.
I refuse to have a spanking day, though.
No argument for me.
But you can find us on Twitter and on our forums. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you do that. Hit that notification bell. Because we didn't plan this with a lot of advance, but a lot of you showed up. So I'm assuming you got that notification. So make sure you're doing that. If you are one of our friends who is a content creator, feel free to promote your stuff or link your channel. Jess, who all do we need to point out?
Bounty is another Star Wars channel. It does a lot of great collecting. Bare Naked Gaming streamer, Sergeant Curry Pants does a lot of Let's Plays. We had a couple other people in here, but I think they're the ones that are there. But you can always feel free to shout yourselves out. Totally fine.
But apart from that, I think that's going to do it for us today. So thanks for coming and hanging out and talking some casting news with us. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.